It takes two. I thought one was enough. It's not true. It takes two of you. Just the two of us. It takes
All right, so thank you for joining us, everyone, for this, the second season of It Takes Two, a podcast where we join up with amazing artists from across Canada, both emerging and established, to learn more about what's going on right now in the arts. So I am here with the wonderful and lovely Rochelle Kives and Joyce Jugo. Welcome you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
So I guess first off, let's kind of do some intros. Joyce, tell me a little bit about who you are as a person and who you are as an artist.
Oh my gosh. I think the worst part about doing these kinds of things is talking about yourself.
Yes. Say nice things.
I am an emerging artist based here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, or Treaty 1 territory. I do mostly musical theater-based performance work, but I also have ventured into like solo performance work and even like cabaret styles. I do really enjoy like solo work and performing as a vocalist. I've done it all my life. I studied under Joy Lazo since I was 6, so it's kind of in my training as well as in my blood for being a Filipino. So yeah, that's me.
Now, Rochelle, who are you as a person and who are you as an artist?
Who am I as a person? Well, I'm a mommy, a wife, sister, daughter. I'm pretty happy most of the time. I love food. I love traveling. That's a huge part of who I am and what I like to do on my own and with my family. As an artist, constantly evolving and questioning what my art is and what it means. I'm definitely a singer first. That's where my heart has always been. Also trained under Joy Lazo, like Joyce, at a very young age, different generations. But so singing from a young age and grew up here and then went to Sheridan for a musical theater college and then started a career out in Ontario that, led me to traveling abroad, cruise ships, which is where I met Rusi, my husband, Ukrainian, lovely bass player. So yeah, most of my work as well as in theater. I've done some film and TV, which has been exciting recently, and commercial performance. A big part of what I do now is when I'm not in shows here is traveling with the group I co-own on the ships, our trio. It's been really fun because it just is always keeping my voice in shape. Because it's hard to keep your voice, your chops in show shape when you're not doing shows. Anyway, so that's me in a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah. Going to like Unique 3, I know that Joyce, when you kind of first submitted, you were really interested in growing some more of your artistic practice around producing. So what made you really want to work with Rochelle as a mentor?
I've known Rochelle. I've known Rochelle since my days doing voice lessons with Joy Lazo. And we didn't know each other then personally, but I've always looked up to her as someone who is Filipino and who is able to make a career in the arts. We just recently did Rent on Rainbow Stage together this summer, and every single time we would have these kinds of conversations, it would always be in passing of her speaking about Unique 3, of balancing musical theater and finding work. And with Unique 3, she's been able to do this professionally and full time, and is able to kind of have an entrepreneurial scope of her abilities and her performance skills and using it as a business. As Rochelle had said, and as artists, when we're not performing, it's really hard to keep our chops and our vocal skills and our performance skills in tip-top shape. And I was always questioning post-Rent, okay, well, what can I do? I've been doing a lot of cabaret work. I've been doing a lot of solo work. I found that in Winnipeg, it is super common that businesses or festivals would hire musicians and artists to, sing a set of songs and, entertain. But then when I would be doing these like small shows, I would not be compensated accordingly. I would get maybe $20-$30. And it takes a really long time to like prepare a set and to make sure that you're up to par vocally and to be able to entertain. So with Rochelle and Unique 3 and what she does as a musical theater performer and just balancing all of the business stuff and the personal stuff, I thought that she would be the best mentor to teach me how to sort of do that in kind of real time and kind of make some of the visions that I've been having, maybe we'll talk about that later, that I have about performing as a career and just kind of balancing it in my life. And she would be the best person to do that. And I'm so glad that we haven't had this relationship and that we were able to connect in this way. So yeah.
Aw, that's so nice.
This is so sweet. We just get to be like, hey, say nice things about each other to each other's faces. It's
Yes,
great. I love it.
yes. It's so nice. Thank you.
Rochelle, why were you excited to work with Joyce?
Well, it's so funny because when she first texted me, I was like, I don't know what I can teach you, because we were just like, as she said, like performing at the same level on the same stage together as complete equals. Like there was nothing that set us apart really, except for that I'm older. Don't tell anyone. Anyways, I was excited to work with her because I could tell that she really wanted to learn about other ways she could work in the arts full time, and she just had her experience where she did a solo show at Ma-Buhay Kubo. Congratulations.
Yay!
But I just felt like through that experience and like having a solo show like that, and like, in Winnipeg, it's funny because as you know, like the Village hosts a lot of these events, but
yeah, totally.
they're starting to be more normalized, but they're great. They're a great way for people to practice. But if we want to do them as a means to like supplement income, how do we do that? And it's like with the economy the way it is, I just thought, I was like, this could be really neat. This could be like integrating the two worlds and finding a way to like make this happen in Winnipeg. And she's always wanting to learn, and she had so many great questions, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to really think about this. But yeah, that was what I was most excited for, just to talk about ways that we can like bring more of that type of performance to Winnipeg.
Right. And Rochelle, to that point, with Winnipeg being the industry that it is, there isn't always enough musical theater or theater-based work that us as artists can do. And personally for me, I am not the kind of person that will just wait for that opportunity or for a theater company to put on a show that I fit in and that I can work for the next season in. And doing cabaret style work or doing work as a vocalist is something that I do frequent. So how can I expand my skill set? How can I be better at the business or even the entrepreneurial side to get those ambitions rolling? And Rochelle was that person for me that inspired me to want to do this.
Yeah.
Aw, thank you.
And it is really wonderful because, like, as you said, it seems like everybody wants a musician, but not everybody wants to pay a musician, which is also a whole wonderful can of worms that we'll dismantle the capitalist structures that bind us one day at a time.
Oh yeah, we've had plenty of the conversations along that line.
Oh yes. And also something I think we talked about a lot is the difference between being in a show, like a full musical, or like producing your own work, or being in a review show, or when you're like the only singer and you have to sing every song, or like it's so different. And then there's musicians involved. We talked a lot about like how to make charts for a show, the resources you need to actually execute it like in the right way, I think.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit more about what the last couple of weeks have been like for you folks. As you've been mentoring Joyce and as Joyce has been kind of working with you, what has been kind of the shape of the mentorship to date? I know there's like the creation piece chunk of it, but I'm just wondering what form the mentorship has taken for you guys.
Joyce is very organized and had like all her questions and outlines and like what she wanted to know about like my career and school and how I got to this point. Because sometimes people don't fully understand. They get confused when they're like, oh, you still work on chips? And I'm like, no, I don't. Like I do, but I run the company like remotely from Winnipeg, and the group is always going out even when I'm not there. When I'm in shows here, like during Rent, they did like 3 cruises, and I was like doing admin work for the group while I'm in shows. So I think we talked a lot about that and how that all works and how, again, like how to put on a cabaret in a city like ours, how to try and make money, how to charge for it, how to like compensate people properly. We talked a lot about that. Do you start with a piano player? Do you have a whole band? Do you have backup singers? Like we've just kind of looked at like all different elements. I think we've talked a lot too about like the mental toll the business and we've helped each other really, because I truly don't think it ever goes away. And I think talking to like a younger emerging artist and me having a few more years on Joyce, just a couple, like knowing that it never fully goes away, the self-doubt and the when's my next job, how am I gonna pay for this, or all those thoughts, but somehow you learn how to manage them. We've talked too about how to survive audition seasons when we do live in such an amazing support. Like our community is one of the most beautiful communities, but it's hard. We're all very close. We all know each other. So it can be daunting sometimes, like as much as you're supportive of your other friends and what they're doing, it's like, how do you stay strong in a season where your best friends are your main competition? We spoke a lot, I think, about that, because that as well never goes away. Your friends age with you. You're like, oh God, we're always up for, the same parts. And I think we've learned a lot equally from each other, because I've learned a lot, about, I think, the younger generation as well, because I didn't stay in Toronto very long after college, and I kind of, my career and my skill set grew on ships when I worked on them full time. So I didn't spend my 20s or formative years in Winnipeg, like auditioning like these young folks are, I had a different trajectory where I was like working for 10 years straight, and then came here and all of a sudden I was auditioning for mom roles. I was like, wait a minute. It was a different path for me.
Right.
So I wonder, I don't know if I could have survived this industry, auditioning all through my 20s. I was lucky enough to have stable income and stable work, which for me is one of the biggest wins. And also we talked about like that a successful career in the arts looks different for everyone.
Absolutely.
And I think we sort of have this in our theater world. It's like, if you're not in a show, you're not successful. And that is just simply not true. And I refuse to ever believe that. There are so many other ways you can make money being an artist, and a show does not define if you are successful or not.
Right.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I did mention to Rochelle that at the beginning of our mentorship that like I didn't want to purely just talk about things like how to survive audition season or things that pertain to do with being a musical theater artist, because essentially what I wanted to really get at is that I don't just have to be a musical theater artist to be able to be making good work and good art. Like I could also use my skills in another avenue. We also talked about how the different industries, like Winnipeg theater industry has its own sort of nuances and quirks, as well as, the Toronto scene and even in New York. And for example, in New York, when they have like 54 Below or Chelsea Table and Stage, and they have a huge market for cabaret style work. And I was just wondering, well, why can't we do that here in Winnipeg? Like, I think we have so much opportunity, so much talent. There are musicians that are looking to play for these singers who are able to, put on a show similarly to what they do in New York. So, I mean, one of the big questions that I asked Rochelle is like, why haven't we gone there? And there is possibly a gap that maybe needs to be filled in Winnipeg. It's not just theater shows that people are looking to see, in my opinion. I think that anybody in Winnipeg is just looking to find entertainment, and like they love to see live music, and I would love to do more of that, because I've been doing it on and off whenever there's an opportunity, but why can't I just create those opportunities for myself is kind of like the big question that I've always kind of brought forward to Rochelle every single time we would have one of these sessions.
And one more thing I'm going to add, Joyce, because I always told Joyce that this is something I really respect about her, is that throughout the shows she's done last season and all her trainings, she's maintained a full-time job. And I have so much admiration for her for doing so, because sometimes in the arts, it's like, if you're not like auditioning full time and you have a full-time job that you're not an artist, and that is just, again, that needs to be dismantled, because it's like, we need to make money to live.
Yeah, I've got this nasty rent paying habit that won't go away, and I just
right. And like, we can't, and it looks different for everyone. Some people have different living situations or have more support. Some people need to work more, and it doesn't mean, if you have a full-time job and you're also performing, it doesn't mean you're any less of an artist.
No.
And that's what I've said, tried to instill in her so much, that I think too, in the age of social media, and this is not just pertaining to Winnipeg, there's all these, again, it's like, it's not just you tick off a box, you're only an artist if you're this.
Yeah.
If we don't make money to live, how can we be happy and like follow our dreams, you know?
Yeah.
That was a big one, hey? And how to do this career and live, and not feel like we're struggling and stressing about paying bills or that too, you know?
Yeah. And something that has stuck out to me in the sessions that I've had with Rochelle over the time is that this business doesn't get easier. Being an artist and working professionally does not get easier. At the end of the day, it's always going to be a huge hustle, and money is an uncomfortable conversation, I think, amongst any relationships. And I think sometimes even especially in the arts, because we're all just trying to make ends meet and survive and eat and have a roof over our head and all the things. So it's not going to get easier. And if anything, it's just more how are we going to manage it? Mental health and practicing the juggling act and taking care of yourself at the end of the day was a huge conversation topic that Rochelle and I had spoken about, because if this is something that I want to do, I have to prepare myself. Another thing she said was that you have to be stronger than the show that you're in. And I think that's a quote from Sutton Foster that she kind of stole. But I mean, it's something that
good job.
Yes, it's something that I now apply to my life, because if this is something that I want to do, and if I'm going to be doing the juggling act, how can I take care of myself, and how can I lean on the supports that I have to make sure that at the end of the day, even though that I'm hustling and I'm training and I'm working, that I'm still going to be okay and afloat at the end of the day.
I know it's a huge conversation that I've had with other artist friends too, is like it's the treadmill of the hustle, but it's also knowing that if I need to take time away from the treadmill, if I need to take a break for either to build up my savings account a little bit or to just protect my own heart, that doesn't mean I'm out of the game. And it's that thing of, just because you're not seeing my name on every single project in a given theater season, I'm still an artist. I just need to be a human sometimes too. And that doesn't make me any less of an artist, because I need to go be a human sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
It's funny because I shared that with Joyce a lot. We talked about it. She's been listening to me just as much as like it's been a 50-50 for sure. So thank you, Joyce. But that for the first time in many years, I've had a break. And at first it was like, it was debilitating to think. I was like, oh my God. And you feel embarrassed. And I was like, this is the happiest I've been in a very long time. Because although I've traveled a few times, the times I haven't been traveling, I'm like super home with my family and present with my family, which when you are in a show, as amazing as it is, the reality is you're not seeing your family.
Yeah.
You're seeing them in the morning, your kids asleep at night. You know, we talked a little bit about families as well, because if you do want kids, I was like, I asked her the big question, because, and obviously like you're years away from that, but truth be told, it changes. That's another thing in this industry as a woman too, who would be carrying a child, how it affects your career, how just everything. And so we've had a lot of, I think, deep conversations that training to like, because we both love like our fitness training. I shared that with Joyce about Sutton Foster, because during the pandemic, she had closed the Music Man.
Yeah.
And she was like, did these workouts every Sunday that were hardcore. I never did them during the pandemic, but I'd watch her do them. And I was like, oh my goodness. And she was like, I have to be ready for when Broadway reopens. Like, and because you always have to be stronger than the show you're in. And that's true. And that doesn't necessarily mean, like I shared with Joyce, taking like 10 dance classes a week. It's like working out or doing like going to the gym. That will make you strong for auditions. That's a form of training. because you're making your body stronger, which makes your mind stronger, right?
It's also, for me, I know that it's nice to have a sense of accomplishment that isn't tied to my art explicitly. Like, I still get that little burst of dopamine from, oh, I beat a personal best on deadlifts or whatever, which is on par with, oh great, I just landed this role that I really wanted. And it's important to have those other sources of accomplishment that aren't necessarily related to your career.
Exactly.
And also, it's okay to take breaks. And I remember in our last session with Rochelle, it's like, sometimes I just don't want to sing. Sometimes I just don't want to practice. And like, you look at everybody around you on social media and it's just like, oh, it looks like everybody's doing everything. And I performed at the last a lot of nights that had in December. I was so nervous to sing because leading up to it, I was just like, I don't know if like I'm like ready to do this, because I feel like I haven't practiced enough. Maybe I need to be practicing every hour and doing, training and thinking about it every single day. And sometimes you just don't want to do that. And, when you take that break and you give your mind like the rest that it needs, sometimes you just come out stronger.
And to add to that, Joyce, because we talked a little bit too about like when you do this type of cabaret work, or even what I do on the ships, like when we got on the ship last week, I had the worst stage fright because I was like, oh my God, is my voice going to be okay? Like I just totally got in my head, because when you do like independent gig, random nights of gigs, you don't have 3-4 weeks of rehearsals to build the stamina.
No, gosh, no.
You don't have that. Like, it's even like band work. It's like, you're not going to be able to sing the 30 songs before the gig. Will your voice be able to sustain that? Sometimes, like we've talked a lot about, it's just your mind being strong and like believing you can. The mental battle of like doing big shows or big performances like that when you don't have the rehearsal. And we are like musical theater performers, so we like thrive on the structure and rehearsal to be prepared. It's a big difference, I would say, in that type of work, gig, like cabarets or like the cruise work, where it's like you just get one 90-minute rehearsal and pray to the gods that your voice.
And sometimes it's a last minute one-off, or someone messages you, or like they DM you on Instagram. They're like, hey, can you perform at this thing? Can you prepare a 3, 4, 5 song set? And then you're like, okay, well, I didn't have time to prepare for this, but here we go. So training your voice to not only have the stamina, but like to even cheat it a little bit, just so you could save yourself the strain, is something that is important and something that we've discussed, because you don't have to always overexert yourself if you really, really can't, right?
No.
I know you mentioned like 54 Below in New York. Have there been any other sources of inspiration as you're kind of thinking about how to build your own personal little cabaret set here in Winnipeg?
I have like pipe dreams of what it could look like. I've been watching like 54 Below concerts, like the Broadway princess parties, all the things since like high school. And I think it's so cool to see actors out in the wild singing for fun and singing for themselves, and singing not for a character, but like just how they are feeling in the moment. And that's something that I definitely learned when I did Belt Fest back in 2020, produced and hosted and created by Andrea Macafet. And we did that show on Rainbow Stage during the pandemic. And basically what hit home for me then was that I don't need to play a character to like feel validated in my art. I don't need to be a part of a show. I could sing from the heart and sing for me, and the same message is going to come across because of what the lyrics stand for, and being able to emotionally and mentally connect to myself, like that delivers with the audience that you're performing for. So I think that is more my inspiration rather than like the events in New York itself. It's like what can I do to like serve the community and still create art that means something, but also means not only means something to the audience, but also means something to me and means something to the people that are receiving it.
Totally.
We have a date to go see Gabby Epstein at Winnipeg Jewish Theatre.
Yes,
we do. I said to Joyce, I was like, we have to go see her show because it literally is a cabaret. And she does do a lot of shows, but in between gigs, or she's really honed in on like her Barbara Streisand tribute show or singing Gabs with Babs. And she's such an amazing person. But also like her talking, because so much of cabaret work is how you talk to the audience.
Yeah, it's how the stories kind of connect. Yeah.
Yes, and we've talked a lot about that. So
Yeah.
you do have to be vulnerable. So there are more similarities to like being in a show. You know, you're playing yourself, but if you don't give a piece of yourself, if you just sing a song and you're like, this next song is from cabaret or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you tell them a story about like, I met Alan Cumming and he on the ship, this is a true story. I met Alan Cumming on the ship and he invited me to go see cabaret in New York in the revival in 2014. And he was on the cruise for the whole week with his husband and their mom. And like, he came to every show. And he came to our Broadway cabaret, which like we put on ourselves. We had our set shows, like the big productions. And then the singers just wanted to do a Broadway cabaret. He was amazed by the Broadway cabaret. So then he was like, and then he told us, he's like, I'm going to be doing the revival of cabaret. If you guys want to come, like, keep in touch. So I was like, there's no way he's gonna like keep in touch. Like, he's Alan Cumming.
Yeah.
But like, I literally emailed him. Cabaret had already opened. I was like, hi Alan, it's Rochelle. Do you remember me from the ship? He had 2 tickets for me and Rusi, took us backstage, took us to Club Cumming. He has like, his dressing room is a club.
That's amazing.
And it's called Club Cumming. And he sings karaoke. He invites all, and the night I went there, Nev Campbell was there.
What?
And she was like, hi, I'm Nev. And I was like, yes, I know who you are. Yes, I know who you are. I'm freaking out right now. But he was so lovely. And so the other day on the ship, I had to swap out a song because the cast was singing a song. And I was like, oh my God, we don't generally do that in our shows. Our shows are very set. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to sing maybe this time from cabaret, and I'm going to tell the Alan Cumming story. And the guests after were like, oh my God, we love the Alan Cumming story. And they were just like amazed at it. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad that like it worked out and that I got to sing the song. And there was a whole story about a ship that like tied it together, you know?
And I was even telling Rochelle on our first meeting, I was like, man, like I feel like I'm like the worst at, you know, conversing with an audience, because when you do these like cabaret solo show type things, like you see everybody. It's not like you're on like a big stage, the lights, and like you look out into the audience and it's pitch black. Like you're seeing these people and seeing how they react and seeing if they actually like you or if they even like connect to your stories. And I was telling Rochelle, I was like, how do you do it? Like I feel like I'm so awkward and weird. And she's like, yes. People like when you're awkward and weird, and people want to see that, and people want to hear your awkward and weird stories, and that is how you connect with people, because you're being human. And I was like, okay, well, we're gonna have to practice that when we get into the creation project.
And if you are yourself, people will love you.
Absolutely.
You know, you're just giving a piece of you, and it is hard. It's hard to give a piece of yourself to an audience and to be like, am I repeating the same thing? And and of course, these people who have like these shows, there is structure, but it's not like a script where every word, it's like, I know what I'm going to talk about, but it might come out differently this time.
And not only that, it also depends on like how long the set is. The last set that I did was nine songs long, and that was the longest set that I had ever done. Ever. And sometimes I'm like, do I just run out of things to talk about? Am I repeating myself? Do I have to plan these little tidbit conversations, or is it going to come out? And there was a point in time where I was like, okay, we're just going to see how it goes. I'm just going to do the thing. We'll see what happens. And sometimes that's the key, just being natural and just throwing yourself into the wind and letting it fly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've seen people have conversations with audience members. Someone yells out something and they're like, okay, you're having a full on conversation with an audience member, or that segues into a different topic on stage. But it just, if you commit to it, and again, it's genuine, then people will respond in a positive way.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does kind of the future of this partnership look like? Or what are you kind of excited to take from this partnership into your respective artistic practices?
I feel like we are not done
No,
conversing. I mean,
no.
like we've fulfilled our It Takes
Your
Two
obligations,
hours.
yes.
But honestly, I feel like there's just so much to talk about, so much
Yeah.
to unpack, so much more that I want to learn. And so I do anticipate and see in the near future Rochelle and I getting together and just talking about like how I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just, talk about it and be like, oh, that's just a pipe dream, and then just kind of put it on the back burner, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. But like I find myself that I feel like I'm a visionary, and that when I want something and when I see something is able to work, like I will go at it full force. And I think that Rochelle is the right person for me to bounce ideas off of, and to be a safe person in the midst of all the audition seasons and all the life things. I think we have a really relatable relationship that we have built over time, and I think that wasn't just formed through It Takes Two, but just formed through compatibility. And I look forward to having more Rochelle in my life in 2024, and that
Yay.
hey, maybe we can do like a cabaret type show together in the future. Maybe I'll hire you.
Yay! I would love that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about what our relationship, partnership, all the things is going to come from this mentorship. She's also like a big sister to me and a friend, and it's nice to have her in my corner. But even in like the professional stuff, I feel like very safe with her, and very like I can talk to her about all the uncomfortable topics, and I think that's important to have in an industry where sometimes it is uncertain. So she is someone who not only I look to for like the professional entrepreneurial cabaret type stuff, she's also someone who is a friend and who has a really big heart and like is really there for me when I need it.
Aw, that's so nice. Ditto to all those same things. And like I said, it was like therapeutic for me as well, because I was like, you learn just as much doing this from the other person involved in the mentorship. Truly, it really is an equal partnership. And like, I love that we are thinking the same way, and like that there's this element that's missing that we could potentially like help create more art here in a different way, which could be so beautiful, and it could help connect like our community even more and give people the opportunity to hopefully make some money, or
or just shine in a different way, right? Like it doesn't.
Yes.
Like I don't think shining and being successful as a musical theater artist or actor, whatever you want to call it, is just booking the big shows. Like you can do the same thing and have the same connections and feel the same kind of fulfillment through doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And doing it yourself as yourself I think is a big thing too.
It's true. Or you get to know, if it's like, I don't know Joyce very well, I'm going to go see her cabaret. And then you're like, oh my God, now I know her. She shared like the first time she got on stage when she was 6. And I loved that story. And she's such a relatable person. And also you can do it on your own timeline.
Yeah.
If it's like, having to work with your job, it's like, I'm going to do art the way it works into my life. I'm not going to conform to y'all's stuff, because we all have to do what's best for ourselves.
Yeah.
So lots more to come for sure. And very excited about where we go with this.
Absolutely. Joyce, if you were to be a mentor to anybody, what would you kind of want to impart onto a mentee?
Oh my gosh. I mean, personally, I'm just really excited to support other artists, especially musicians, and that do not get mistreated. Do not get mistreated as like a soloist, a vocalist, a performer. Like your work and your art and your practice and your training means something. Do not get taken advantage of. If there's any opportunity that you feel like you aren't being well compensated for, or you're getting mistreated in, like you have a voice in that. Like say something, speak up. You are important. Your art matters. You deserve to be treated accordingly. Just as much as like a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, like those people go to school for many, 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 many years, and they have that kind of respect because of the way that they've trained and, the years of experience they've had. Same thing for artists. Like we have so much years and experience and training, and we go to school and we practice, and that means something, and that also means that you shouldn't be a back burner thought when it's time to, get either compensated or get mentioned, or get credited. Like, you matter. You matter. You need to speak up, and you need to be able to, have a voice and stand your ground on your art and who you are as a performer and what you bring to the table.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, girl. She's ready. You hear that, Minty? She's ready.
Is ready.
She is indeed.
I hope so. I don't know.
You are.
This has been awesome, y'all. Either of you have anything coming up that you want to plug or that you're allowed to plug and talk about right now?
Rochelle and I are performing at opening night of Inhibition Exhibition.
Yes.
What that is at this time, we will figure that out.
Yes, we will.
After this Zoom podcast recording session, I'm doing a mentorship with Royal Manitoba Theatre Center.
Yay.
So that's something that I'm really excited for. If you want to follow me on all of my escapades of 2024, you can catch me on Instagram at Joyce Jugo _ or on my singing Instagram at Joyce Sings _
Yes.
Rochelle, how about you?
I mean, I just got home the other day, and I'm going away on another ship in a week.
Great.
And it's actually our busiest. We've been working towards the school for years, but we actually have 2 casts of Unique 3 going on at one time.
Ooh, fun. Okay.
So I'm trying to coordinate that. So I'm on my phone all day, every day, talking to girls and figuring out travel, because like I said, I do all that. So that's what's coming up for me. And then hopefully, and more theater in Winnipeg. Nothing, when I know stuff, I'll announce it. But for now, I'm just doing the thing just like everybody else and existing and trying my best to make a living for my family.
People want to follow you or Unique 3. How could they do that?
Oh yeah, follow Unique 3 Music on Instagram or Rochelle Kives on Instagram as well, or Facebook. Same as it's Unique 3 on Facebook. And yeah, and we've been posting some fun a cappella stuff, and yeah, it's been good.
Amazing. Any final thoughts as we kind of are careening towards the end of our time here?
Wrap up thoughts for me is just thank you, Daphne. Thank you, everybody at the Village Conservatory for this opportunity, because if this opportunity didn't come by, I've actually had these cabaret style performance, entrepreneurship, business, blah, blah, blah stuff in my brain for so long. And if I didn't come across this mentorship opportunity, and I didn't meet Rochelle when I met Rochelle, these ideas and this connection would have never happened. So I feel so much gratitude for the opportunity and for the experience, and for the next lucky artist mentor mentee pairings in season 3. This is it. If you have an idea, do it with the Village Conservatory, and they will support you.
Just to echo what Joyce said, then thank you for making this happen, Village Conservatory, because it was a really great therapeutic experience, I think, for both of us. And again, it just like this mentorship, that's also art. It's like speaking with your fellow artists and discussing this business and helping each other. That is huge, and that is a form of being an artist. So it felt like every time we met, we were working towards a goal, and it was really lovely. I always found that I was in a good mood after our meetings, or felt really inspired. And what more can you ask for?
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for joining me, and I cannot wait to see what you come up with next. Until then, goodbye.
It takes 2.
Thank you so much for joining us for Season 2 of It Takes 2. This season is generously supported by the Thomas Sill Foundation and the Canada Council for the Arts. This season is produced and edited by Daphne Finlayson. Original music for the show is provided by Paul DeGers, with apologies to Stephen Sondheim for shamelessly airlifting part of It Takes 2 from Into the Woods. If you'd like to learn more about this or any other podcasts in the Village Conservatory family, you can check out our website, villageconservatory.com, or follow us on social media at Village Conservatory.